Welcome to the Road Ahead Cafe. Hang on to your hat and enjoy the ride because you're about to get some powerful insights and practical hacks that will take your daily life to the next level. And now, here are your hosts, Rick, Frank, and Peter.
Welcome to the Road Ahead Cafe. And in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about You Asked Us. And we had a really great question come across this week. Why can't I stop my bad habits? And so I'm going to turn it over to Frank Vandenhorst for his opinion on this and his observations. Frank, tell us what you think about this.
Well, to be honest, everybody has some bad habits, whether you like it or not. So that's completely normal. But the funny thing is, do you have a problem with it? You know, drinking one glass of bourbon a week is not a problem, but drinking a bottle a day starts to be a problem. Then a habit might become a bad habit. And why is it a bad habit? It's a bad habit because somehow, some way, it's rewarding you, but the consequences of that bad habit are quite bad in this instance for your health. So you qualify it as bad because, you know, it doesn't work for you really. It might be somehow relaxing to have your glass of bourbon. Sure it is, and to socialize with people, everything is great. It's relaxing, true. But too much, you know what happens. In the end, you probably will end up with the Alcohol Anonymous group, and they start to work on your bad habit. So it's not a fun to have a bad habit, at least this one. What do you think, Peter?
Yes, so I always look at this from my approach is to help the helpers. And you know who you are. You're the people out there who friends always come to for advice. You meet Marge at the Starbucks for a mocha latte or something like that. And she says to you, why can't I stop my bad habit? I wake up at 3, I can't sleep, so I go to the refrigerator and I find myself eating something. Why can't I stop myself from doing this? And you've got to level with her. Well, first you have to wipe the cream off your upper lip, otherwise she won't listen to you. You just don't have the gravitas. And you have to level with her and tell her what's going on. You're expecting your brain, the one who's doing this habit because it works so well for it, to change the habit. So that's what I'm going to talk about, how you can perhaps overcome that. Rick?
Good stuff, Peter. Good stuff, Frank. So I think, you know, as Frank mentioned, we all develop them. What's interesting to me is as we get older, you look back and you think about those, the habits that you had, you know, when you were in your 20s and 30s. And so, you know, if you're listening or watching today, you know, think about some of the things that you were dealing with, struggling with, how sometimes when we look back, we wish we had that habit instead of today's habit because they change so much. So, you know, we all develop them. And I think, recognizing and having the awareness of what they are. I think in my case, most of the time, it was other people either showing me or telling me that I had that habit before I realized it. So I think that it's important to try to recognize it yourself. So we're hoping that you're here today listening or watching because you want to try to get that awareness before somebody else tells you about it. So, Frank, I know we were talking earlier about, some stories, behind this. So did you have something you wanted to share more specifically that may?
During COVID, everything was closed here in the Netherlands. And, I gained weight, sports facility were closed. I could, of course, take my bike out, but that's something else than going to the gym, to be honest. So I gained weight. A few weeks ago, I badly bruised my ankle. So I had to sit in a chair and my feet on a cushion. And then I sat there and I went through my YouTube videos and came across a guy called Dr. Burke, somewhere lives in Virginia, I guess. He's from the US. And he was telling about intermittent fasting and how to bring your body in ketos. And I was flipping through it and I said, Frank, this is it. Just do it. So I decided in that moment to stop eating 3 or more meals a day, have a nice snack, put some cheese in your mouth because you're hungry at 4 o'clock. I just quit it. And I said to myself, going ketose means no carbs, no sugar, no alcohol. Well, if you have that mindset and you go to the supermarket and you look at the back of all those bottles, then you see how much sugar and how much carbs is in your food. That was the first moment of awareness. So changing a habit has to do with awareness. Awareness, how do you look, how I feel, I want to lose my weight. I'm 6 weeks further. I'm now in ketose, as they say it, and I dropped 7 kilos. Just lost body fat. I feel it. I feel better. I feel more balanced, and I changed it. I changed it for a moment. I said, "Yeah, I had to drop weight." Yeah, somebody said, "Hey, Frank, buddy, you're a nice guy, but you have to do something about it." Yeah, just what Rick said. Someone else gave me the feedback. But that is the motivation, it's the momentum, is to turn the key. And the simple thing, as always, is just do it and stick to it. That's my story.
All right, Peter, what do you think?
Hi, it's an excellent story. I think it's amazing that you have that willpower to be able to stick to that. When a person is called upon to help the friend like Marge in the Starbucks, the first thing you always do is just listen. And what you'll hear is how the brain works. Marge says at 3 a.m, she wakes up, she can't sleep. So the brain says, I have to do something. The brain doesn't like to do nothing. It always wants to do something. And so it says, I know, I'll go and get a snack from the fridge. That's victory, getting a snack from the fridge. But there's a lot of work. You have to do something healthy. Nah, it's too much work. I'll just get some Chunky Monkey, which I got from the Sweetery online, and have a couple scoops of that. It's really easy. It's really simple. And just a couple scoops, just for the stomach. And it all makes sense, and it's all a victory. And at the same time, the brain goes, but this is going to put it right on my thighs. This is not a good thing. So it feels guilty, loss of points. The brain is always trying to protect or grow your self-worth. So it goes, loss of points, because then I'll get the fat thighs. I don't want that. But it says, but you know what? Tomorrow I can have a salad and some water, intermittent fasting, whatever. Tomorrow, procrastination, the best friend of the brain. And so it feels good about that. Look, I thought out a plan. I really know what I'm doing. This is really good. And so you have those conflicting feelings, but the brain is rewarded, it's done something, and you go back to bed. How do you change that? How do you change that? Well, what you don't do is bring out your karate blocks and say, oh, you want Chunky Monkey? Boom. You don't bring out your jujitsu and wrestle your brain down. Don't think that. Don't be thinking that. Just ignore the urge to go and get that delicious ice cream. You don't have to do that. You don't have to fight. What we teach in mindfulness, pathfinding mindfulness is the version that I use, is you do nothing. Nothing at all. It's like the Aikido master. You just simply say, you want some ice cream? Get some ice cream. I'm curious. See the but, you put the little but in there. But I'm curious, what happens if you say, hey, how can I maximize fulfillment here? What can I do to get the maximum fulfillment out there? I'm going to have the Chunky Monkey, which is really great, but how can I maximize fulfillment here? And then you tell the brain, do nothing but look. So I guess that's something. You look, just look at what happens. What comes up? He says, well, these thoughts start to come up. And at first it's the brain with the usual stories, interrupt those stories, say that, yeah, that's good. What else comes up? What else? And pretty soon you'll get some direction from the unconscious mind and things will change. And all you have to do is just watch what happens, not change anything. Just watch what you feel as you eat the Chunky Monkey. Watch what happens, what thoughts come up. watch what emotions you have. And the incredible thing about this is you're doing nothing, which is the opposite of what you think you have to do. You're doing nothing but being mindful of what is happening, especially in relation to how you can maximize fulfillment. You will get that guidance. It comes up automatically. And the research shows that mindfulness like this is 5 times more effective for quitting cigarettes than the leading treatment for quitting cigarettes. And we know that cigarettes are more addictive and harder to quit as a chemical addiction than cocaine or alcohol, and yet it works nevertheless. So this is the power of doing nothing, and this is what you can give to people just by encouraging them to go with the flow, whatever the brain says, but add that one thing. What happens when you say, how can we maximize fulfillment here? What comes up? I don't know what's going to happen. You tell me, but it might be worth trying.
That's good. That's good stuff. You know, I was thinking as you were talking, Peter, at my age right now, I'll be 59 in a couple weeks. So I know you guys are both younger. So when you get to my age, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I think the not doing, so I'll just use working out for an example. When I don't work out, you know, what I used to think, oh, okay, well, I was either lazy or tired or I didn't want to do that or whatever. Now I'm thinking about, is there a problem or a feeling that's keeping me from wanting to do that? So now I'm much more aware of the thing that is keeping me from doing. So in my case, sometimes the habit is not doing something that I want to do. So I'm looking at life from that perspective. I remember when I was turning 50, I wanted to give myself the gift of becoming a health coach because I loved to work out, loved to use weights, but I didn't like to eat right. So I was missing the nutrition piece. So I went to IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And one of the mantras was, it's not what you are eating, it's what's eating you. And we talked about that all the time. So it was kind of like all the health coaches that are hearing this will be jumping up and down. Oh yeah, that's our main thing. What's eating us? So what is this problem or feeling that I may be ignoring or hiding that I've got to get to the bottom of? So again, using your method, Frank, or your method, Peter, to try to figure out what is eating me. And we used to talk about adding something rather than omitting something. So if you're struggling with a bad habit, instead of trying to stop that habit, add something which maybe then doesn't feel like you're either quitting, like you said, Peter, instead of, stopping and not eating the ice cream, just go get the ice cream and then think about that later. So I always like that adding on thing where you could add something which might either take you down a new road. In your case, Frank, it created a new habit for you. And, I like looking at it like that as opposed to depriving, right? Because deprivation never really, serves us. So that's my lens, is to, kind of add something. Frank, I'll turn it back over to you. What are your thoughts on what we've said?
I think you're quite right. There's a simple formula for you, and it's called calm. What do you want to keep? What do you want to do less? What do you want to add? And what do you want to do more? So keep is one of the most dramatic things is if you have a bad habit that you wanted to change it overnight. So my example, I could do it because I somehow subconsciously, I was already motivated for quite a long time to change that. I wanted to change this. So this was the right momentum. And you could say the universe provided that momentum because I couldn't walk that easy. I had a terrible pain in my ankle and so on. So actually I had to sit down and to reflect. So there was a momentum for do this. So I didn't want to keep it. To add something, yeah, I want to add more healthier food. I like to have pizza and I love to make pizza, but as we all know, pizza is a lot of carbs. Yeah. So is it healthy? It's nice, it's tasteful, it's joyful, it's great stuff, but there's a lot of carbs in it. So I found a recipe which I made a pizza with cauliflower. That was something great and experimented it. But that's me. I like to experiment, yeah, and see, does this work for me? Yes, no, a bit. So how can I twist it? So I wanted to add something, and then I wanted to do something less. I wanted to lose calories. But if you look at Dr. Berg's videos, and not only him, but also others in this profession, you say, okay, you don't look at the calories, you look at the carbs, you look at the proteins, you look at the fats, and so on. So I wanted to I didn't want to look anymore at the calories, but I wanted to do a more balanced thing. So I wanted to add more vegetables, more salads, great fish, even some meat, and to make the right balance. And maybe some extra things like your vitamins and potassium and that kind of stuff. So it has to do with the simple formula if you want to start to break a bad habit. And of course, be careful here. Sometimes you have a genetic inclination or something else happens. So this is not a nutritional advice or go and see, please, your medic, but it's an idea to think about. What do you want to keep? What would you like to do less? What would you like to add to do a little bit more? And what would you like to do more? Yes, that's the thing. Calm. That's the recipe for
That's
today.
terrific. Terrific. What about you, Peter?
Well, when I'm speaking to the people who are called upon to help other people, we have such resources available to us. People like Frank, like Rick, who are life coaches, who know a lot of ways, techniques, and approaches you can use to help you stop your habit. The one who always knows the best, what would work best for you, is yourself at a deeper level. In the pathfinding mindfulness model, we say the conscious you is the journeyer, it's your life, you're the one taking the journey. The non-conscious part of you, which is aware of what's going on all around, knows you and what would work best for you. That's the pathfinder in this model. And the brain is the pilot. The brain's at the controls. Pathfinder, the non-conscious mind, is the GPS, always streaming what the best route is. And the pilot is the one driving the car. No, I know where we're going. I'm all right. I know where we're going. Who follows the things that you've learned, the conditioned thinking you've had since your childhood. And that's one reason why you can't stop it, because you're asking him to change what he's doing. And he goes on autopilot. He's putting on that automatic pilot. So it's the two aspects. Simply being mindful of what you're doing when you do it rather than resisting. That in itself tends to self-regulate or self-heal. But the second thing is, from the inner self, you can often get direction that says, you know, for you, calm is a very good approach. Or for you, intermittent fasting would really help if you look into that. And that'll be specific to you from yourself. So you always have the answers you need. And this is what you can give to the people you're working with, is call it a peer coach, not a life coach, but as a peer coach called upon, is say to them, hey, you've got the answers. Let's just have an opportunity to see those answers. That's what I'd go with, Rick.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking, can we be more like a cauliflower pizza as individuals? And a slight variation, same joy, and maybe a better result. Yeah. So, you know, how can we take these metaphors, you know, these slight variations, and sometimes it's just a tiny little tweak, right? 1 degree. Yeah. You know, in we always use the example in navigation in boats. You know, 1 degree in a 1,000-mile journey can take you to a different, you know, place on the planet. So, you know, how can we change that 1 degree in our own lives? How can we, you know, take that challenge or that habit, you know, as we're talking about today, and just change it, 1 degree, how can we use cauliflower instead of dough so that we can get that different, same joy? I was thinking as Frank was talking, of course, I'm hungry. I was thinking about the ingredients on the pizza. So is it the sauce that makes me love the pizza? So if I put that sauce on cauliflower, I'm going to get a different result. So, what is that sauce in your life? What is that piece of the recipe in your life that we can just change slightly so that we can feel the same about that first bite, but then get a better result? And I know, Frank, you were talking about, having a better body, Peter, talking about having a better mind or a mindset. In my case, is being able to love yourself more, maybe be able to get in better relationships, whatever. I think that when I look at the problems and challenges that I have, I think about how to, get by those things to have better relationships. Excuse me. So, that's my thing. Frank, what do you think? You want to give us some closing remarks?
Well, there's a funny word that's called joystick. Yeah, and what Peter said, the inner pathfinder, find your inner joystick. And the word is joy and stick. What sticks? Be aware of what is sticky to you. Yeah, and that might be a very good habit, a rewarding habit, but also can be a very bad habit with very nasty consequences. But the main word is joy. Joy is the key word. What gives you really joy and what gives your body joy? When you feel more energized, sleep better, more relaxed, didn't have to buy a bigger size clothing, but you can even have a smaller size, which fits you better. You look better. People say, hey, Frank, you really changed. You look better. Don't we all want that feedback? Well, I can tell you, I like that feedback because it's an honest feedback, not because somebody wants to please me, because I feel it and I feel recognized. And that makes me great. First of all, I feel it myself. It's not because someone else tells me, yeah, I'm pleasing me, but actually is saying not the truth. That's the tricky thing. Yeah, be aware of that. Find your joystick and play with it in your life. Really enjoy it. Thanks.
Advice. Peter, how about you? You want to close us out?
Just to say, you always have the answers that you need, or the way to get the answers that you need. All you have to do is to relax and ask yourself, how can I maximize fulfillment here? And you'll get the direction you need for your life. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. Great job, guys. I'll finish by saying we can change, so if there's something that's not working for you, just know that you can change it. We've all talked about that a lot in our own lives. And as we come together, it's an important thing for us to try to help with you and get that change to happen. Join us on the next episode where we're going to talk all about, and then in this case, it's going to be about using affirmations, which kind of feeds right into what we talked about today. So where we'll give you, some great life hacks to be able to do that. Thank you for joining us on the Road Ahead Cafe. We will see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Road Ahead Cafe. Hungry for more? Don't miss out. Follow this channel and be sure to subscribe to our email at theroadaheadcafe.com. Thank you for stopping by. See you next time.